we've just got some brand new information about Space Engineers 2's development. If you're worried about consoles, multiplayer, support for Space Engineers 1, story, and more, then don't panic. I have some answers for you. Keen Software House, the game developer, recently held a new Space Engineers developer livestream. If you missed the stream, then don't worry, I've got you covered. In today's video, we'll discuss the big news from the stream and recent developer insights into the upcoming game, which is about less than a week away now. Greetings everyone, my name is Captain Jack. We're now less than 7 days until we have Space Engineers 2 in our hands. If you want to keep up to date with the latest Space Engineers development and gameplay news, hit that subscribe button for the latest. If you feel like supporting my work here on YouTube, consider hitting that join button to support future videos. Now, CEO Mark Rosa did joke about Space Engineers 3 during the Keen stream. Don't get your hopes up yet, it's a future dream. Yes, I did think it would be fun to title the video that, but anyway. Before we do talk about multiplayer, it's important to recognise that Keen is being very transparent with Space Engineers 2 as an alpha. Now, how you interpret the alpha and what you expect from this type of early access release is up to you. But Keen has said, specifically Marek, that if you are not too comfortable with this type of development, then you should wait until the game is fully developed before purchasing and playing. I think this is a good approach. Of course, there is still an expectation for what we will get our hands on January 27th, so stay tuned for that. Space Engineers 2 is very much a product of collaborative development. This is precisely why the game is releasing in 1 week, it would seem. It's so Keen can get the feedback they need to develop the game according to what the community wants. Of course, we've seen part of that with how the Steam Workshop discussion has gone down. While this type of development is good, how it is handled going forward will remain to be seen with the continued development of Space Engineers 2. Marek has also revealed that the much anticipated blocks like rotors, pistons, programming blocks, and more will come with a later update for Space Engineers 2. Keen is not currently sure on which update this will be in. Marek did say that Vertical Slice 3, which is the water update, will likely contain other game critical features such as mechanical blocks. Whether that includes rotors and pistons, I kind of expect it would, but most likely we'll have to wait and see. We're not seeing water, probably not for this year. I'd be very surprised if we get water this year. Let's talk about multiplayer for Space Engineers 2. It is a significant feature that I want in-game, and I'm already kind of annoyed that it won't be present at launch. But with that said, and with patience, before you start typing a comment, I do understand why Keen is taking this route. I still do not like the idea, but I can at least understand it. One reason for multiplayer not being present is Keen wants to make Space Engineers 2 stand out from Space Engineers 1 with certain features. So they wanted to release Space Engineers 2 with things like unified grids and survival. Of course, survival will not be until Vertical Slice 2. According to Marek, multiplayer will feature some upgrades, but he considers it a feature that just needs to be done. I was a little bit unsure on his wording during the sort of birthday stream here, but keep following. Multiplayer has been in a level of development for Space Engineers 2, that we now know for sure. One of the core game logics of Space Engineers 2 is that it's separated between client and server. So when Keen has been developing the game, multiplayer has been a first for and not a second-class citizen per se. Now this is good to hear. Marek has said that the first half of multiplayer development is already done for Space Engineers 2. The second half, which features things like server browsers and more quality of life features, will be completed later in the development of Space Engineers 2. Now you see, I hear this and it makes me think, why not include a simple 4-player multiplayer via Steam at the launch of a new game? Marek has said that the server is running on your computer when you're playing the game, but it is not a separate process and it's not sending data like packets just yet. But the systems for it do appear to be in the game. It's not quite clear if this is the build that will be delivered on January 27th or the one the developers are currently working on in the studio. Sure, we don't need a full dedicated server just yet or fancy server browsers, but I'd very much like to play with a friend or two to check out these new features and build some awesome things together. By Marek's own admission during the livestream, the first half of multiplayer is done, so indeed we could have some basic form of it in the current game at launch. Now of course game development is a lot more complex than just that, but it does beg the question that could we see a basic launch sooner rather than later. I've seen many people comment on the lack of multiplayer and how it's not a good thing for them. I still think Keen maybe could have met the community halfway and had basic local multiplayer, local in a sense through Steam, to support the game at the launch rather than full-blown dedicated servers. What do you think of that? And regardless, Keen is confident that multiplayer is taken care of from the beginning of development of the second game. This is good to hear and reassuring for players like myself who really love the multiplayer of Space Engineers. And I can't tell you, I'm really looking forward to jumping into Space Engineers 2 and playing with friends. You know from watching my channel, we absolutely love creating multiplayer series, smashing ships around with friends, building giant things. It's what I'm waiting for. It is what will make the game a ton better for myself. Now, it's not a case of being impatient. I'm just saying things could have been done differently, and I will stand by that point. And this is okay. We are all welcome to the opinion. I know some of you in the comments will agree with this, but some will not. Either way is fine. I do invite you to have the open discussion down below in the comment section, and remember to keep things civil and sensible, as you know, it's an important discussion to be had, and I know many feel very passionate about game development like this and agree or disagree with me, so I look forward to discussing with you. Don't forget, you can also join my Space Engineers community Discord server via the link on screen and discuss Space Engineers 2 and 1 with me there. The good news for console players is that Space Engineers 2 is already in development for consoles. There is a small catch, because of course there always is. Keen has said that only one developer is currently assigned to the development of Space Engineers 2's console version, which tells us that it's not a big priority right now, and that does kind of make sense. Consoles for Space Engineers 2 are planned somewhere in the next 2 to 3 years, towards the end of a mainline development cycle of early access for Space Engineers 2. Essentially, alpha and early access games do not do the best on consoles, is what Keen have said. It is well known that console development can be a bit of a pain. We've actually seen that with Space Engineers 1 in recent times, where the Xbox updates took a fair bit of time to get approved and uploaded. And this caused delays and upset quite a lot of the player base, and it's completely understandable. The good news is that console support for Space Engineers 2 is planned. Do not fear. That will be happening, but it's just a question of when really, and hopefully we'll find out more information as we progress through 2025. During the stream, Keen did once again confirm their commitment to the Steam Workshop for Space Engineers 2, as opposed to the mod.io solution that was originally planned. This change was a result of community feedback, which just highlights how important your feedback and your comments are. So if there is something you don't like about the game or feel it does not work properly, then make sure to let developers like Keen know your thoughts through proper channels. These include social media and Keen's Space Engineer support site, which is actually online and you can go check it out now, and submit feedback for Space Engineers 2, even though the game's not out. Now, the Steam UGC Workshop will arrive in Vertical Slice 1.1. Just to note, this means on the early access alpha release of Space Engineers 2, Workshop in any form will not be present. It will come soon after, hopefully in like the first month or two. Any longer and I might be climbing the walls. Personally, I do feel like the game should have launched with this feature, like it could have just waited another month or two, and I think it would yield better results for players. If it launched with a Steam Workshop or mod.io or whatever, then I think that could have gone down a little bit better with the community. What do you think on that? Should it have launched with a workshop? I would be happy waiting another month for that, personally. Marek Rose's latest development update gives us some good details about changes to Space Engineers 2 following the early access release next week. One of these is the new first-person animations. Keen have designed a proper solution for first-person hand and tool animations. Highlighting what players will use in-game on the 27th is just a temporary solution at the moment. The player characters' upper bodies have also been separated to allow for better character animations, and this does make me think modern animations are hopefully going to be really cool. I really want some military style animations like saluting and things like that. That can be really fun, particularly for those of us who make cinematics. A bunch of other animation content has been worked on, including improvements to rendering character shadows. Marek has also revealed a new character model for one of the NPCs that will be in-game. This is for an unannounced faction. Immediately when looking at the arms of the suit, it kind of gives me diving suit vibes. Perhaps something linked to water. Now that would be fantastic, but again, we won't see that for quite some time if water is in VS3. Now Marek has confirmed in his dev blog that Keen Software House have been learning from other game developers. The team have looked at Enshrouded and how their team are doing their voxel terrain, tessellation, and sculpting of materials and more. Now I see nothing wrong with this. Some people might, but I really think collaboration and learning from other developers and products can be fantastic. It is good that game studios take inspiration from others, as is any form of art. Keen have also confirmed once again that Space Engineers 1 will still see many more updates while it is in development with Space Engineers 2. Two separate development teams are formed at Keen at the moment. 30 developers are assigned to Space Engineers 1, while around 70 people are assigned to Space Engineers 2, which also comprises a V-Rage technical team. The next update for Space Engineers, which we've recently covered here on the channel, will be released in the coming months. As players, we do have a lot to look forward to with both games. exciting times ahead. So that's a wrap on today's Space Engines 2 news. I don't really have much to talk about, particularly as we get closer to the launch. We are less than 7 days to go until the release of Space Engineers 2. Hearing the developers talk about the game is fantastic. You can certainly tell there is a lot of passion there, especially when it comes down to Marek saying that Space Engineers 2 will be easy to play for new players. As someone who has a lot of friends who seem like, daunted by the threat that's imposed by Space Engineers 1, and I say that and it means that when you pick it up, it can be quite daunting for the first time. So if SE2 is easy to access, I look forward to that. If only we had multiplayer at launch for my friends to experience that alongside me. Now make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this Space Engineers development news video, then hit that subscribe button and I'll see you in the next video.